All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am VC Pramod and with me is Subhadra Ramachandran. The headlines. India and European Union decide to resume free trade agreement negotiations after 8 years. Ayush Ministry launches massive nationwide campaign to distribute Ayurvedic drugs Ayush 64 and Kabasura Kudineer to corona patients. Health Ministry revises national policy for admission of patients to various categories of COVID facilities. Bihar government to launch vaccination drive for 18 to 44 age group today. DGGI gives emergency approval to anti-COVID oral drug developed by DRDO. Israel successfully completes phase 1 trial of drugs for treatment of coronavirus. Newly elected BJP MLAs in Assam to meet today to elect their leader. Bomb blast targeting girls' school in Afghan capital Kabul claims 53 lives. And in tennis, Aryna Sabalenka beats Ashley Barty to win her first Madrid Open women's singles title. As the number of COVID cases on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners to take all precautions and all those above 18 years of age to get vaccinated without any hesitation. The vaccination for persons of age between 18 and 44 has begun at designated facilities. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing. Focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the India-EU leaders meeting at the invitation of the President of the European Council, Charles Michel. During the meeting, the leaders expressed their desire to further strengthen the India-EU strategic partnership based on a shared commitment to democracy, fundamental freedoms, rule of law and multilateralism. They exchanged views on key thematic areas of foreign policy and security, COVID-19, climate and environment and trade, connectivity and technology. The leaders discussed forging closer cooperation on combating the COVID-19 pandemic and economic recovery, tackling climate change and reforming multilateral institutions. India appreciated the prompt assistance provided by the EU and its member states to combat its second COVID wave. Both India and the EU welcomed the decision to resume negotiations for balanced and comprehensive free trade and investment agreements. Negotiations on both trade and investment agreements will be pursued on parallel tracks with an intention to achieve early conclusion of both agreements together. This is a major outcome which will enable the 2 sides to realize the full potential of the economic partnership. The leaders launched an ambitious and comprehensive connectivity partnership which is focused on enhancing digital, energy, transport and people-to-people connectivity. India and the EU also agreed to enhance bilateral cooperation on digital and emerging technologies such as 5G, AI, quantum and high-performance computing, including through the early operationalization of the Joint Task Force on AI and the Digital Investment Forum. Briefing media in New Delhi, Secretary West in the Ministry of External Affairs Vikas Swarup informed that the leaders' meeting reflected a pivotal movement since the first India-EU summit in 2000 and further strengthened the Indo-UA relationship towards a better future for everyone. He said the leaders agreed to advance the implementation of the actions set out in the India-EU Roadmap 2025 as well as the new decisions taken yesterday. Mr. Swarup also informed that both the leaders agreed to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic through global cooperation.
Each and every leader underlined the need for greater cooperation between India and the EU for ensuring vaccine production, including a proposal from one of the EU leaders for a partnership with India in the Indo-Pacific for ensuring vaccine access. As I have already mentioned, Prime Minister invited the European Union to support the TRIPS waiver, which we have put forward together with South Africa so that there can be equitable vaccine access for the entire world. And as the US has already supported it, we will be watching the evolving EU position on this particular issue.
Ayush Ministry has launched a massive nationwide campaign to distribute its polyherbal Ayurvedic drugs Ayush 64 and Kabasura Kudineer to the majority of out-of-hospital COVID-19 patients. In a statement, the ministry said that the efficacy of these drugs have been proved through robust multi-center clinical trials. Speaking exclusively to AIR News, Chairperson Interdisciplinary Ayush R&D Task Force, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan, said that Ayush 64 has effectively shown to reduce the duration of hospitalization in COVID patients.
Ayush 64 is a polyherbal Ayurvedic formulation that was prepared by Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences for the treatment of malaria. It comprises of 4 plants. Common names, they are known as Saptavaranga, then Kutaki, Kirayat and Kanta Karanja. These are the 4 plants which are commonly used in Ayurvedic medicine, and the speciality of Ayush 64 is that it is much effective in influenza-like illnesses and diseases like flu with common symptoms including viral fever to reduce duration and early recovery without any side effects. In short, this is a anti-malaria drug getting repurposed now for the treatment of mild to moderate COVID.
The Health Ministry has revised the national policy for admission of COVID patients to various categories of COVID facilities. This patient-centric measure aims to ensure prompt, effective and comprehensive treatment of patients suffering from COVID-19. As per the same directive to all states and UTs, requirement of a positive test for COVID-19 virus is not mandatory for admission to a COVID health facility. No patient will be refused services on any count. This includes medications such as oxygen or essential drugs, even if the patient belongs to a different city. No patient shall be refused admission on the ground that they are not able to produce a valid identity card that does not belong to the city where the hospital is located. Admissions to hospital must be based on need. It should be ensured that beds are not occupied by persons who do not need hospitalization. Further, the discharge should be strictly in accordance with the revised discharge policy.
The Supreme Court constituted a 12-member task force to assess availability and distribution of medical oxygen on scientific, rational and equitable basis across the country. The task force will also suggest measures to ensure availability of medicines needed to treat COVID-19. A bench of Justices D.Y. Chandrachud and M.R. Shah said the rationale for constituting the task force at the national level is to facilitate a public health response to the pandemic based on scientific and specialized domain knowledge. The task force will consist of leading experts from across the country as members and resource persons. The toll fee for tankers and containers carrying liquid medical oxygen has been exempted across national highways. Keeping in view of the current unprecedented demand of the medical oxygen across the country due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the containers carrying oxygen will be treated at par with other emergency vehicles such as ambulances for a period of 2 months or till further orders. National Highway Authority of India (NHAI) has said the toll plazas have nearly zero waiting time after implementation of FASTag. It said NHAI is already providing priority passage to such vehicles for quick and seamless transportation of medical oxygen.
India has administered over 16 crore 92 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the country so far. These include over 95 lakh 39,000 healthcare workers who have taken the first dose and more than 64 lakh healthcare workers who have taken the second dose. Over 1 crore 39 lakh frontline workers have taken the first dose and more than 77 lakh frontline workers have taken the second dose. Union Health Ministry said that more than 18 lakh 93,000 beneficiaries were inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine doses yesterday, out of which 7,83,000 beneficiaries were vaccinated for first dose and more than 11 lakh beneficiaries received the second dose of the vaccine. The ministry said 2,86,800 beneficiaries of the age group 18 to 44 years received their first dose of COVID vaccine yesterday and cumulatively over 17,76,000 across 30 states and union territories. The liberalized and accelerated Phase 3 strategy of COVID-19 vaccination has come into force from the 1st of this month. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, when several volunteers and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, or relentlessly reaching out to the needy and the destitutes in order to provide them assistance in terms of food and medical supplies, etc., Kashmiri Muslims in Pulwama district have also set an example of communal harmony and brotherhood by helping a Kashmiri Pandit family in cremating their member during the prevailing unprecedented difficult times following the outbreak of contagious coronavirus pandemic. We have more from our Srinagar correspondent.
An example of communal harmony and brotherhood in Kashmir could be seen once again when the Kashmiri Muslims helped in performing the last rites of a Kashmiri Pandit Makhalal Tikku at village Tahab in South Kashmir's Pulwama district. The news of his death spread like wildfire in the village, drawing scores of Muslim community members to his home. It is worthwhile to mention that many Muslim youth of the village made arrangements in performing the last rites of the deceased as per the Hindu rituals and even ferried firewood for helping the family to cremate the deceased. Sunil Kaul for AR News from Srinagar.
In the wake of the recent surge in COVID-19 cases, Himachal Pradesh government has decided to impose few more strict restrictions under Corona curfew in the state from Monday. The decision in this regard was taken at a high-level meeting chaired by Chief Minister Jairam Thakur in Shimla today. It was decided in the meeting that all the shops in the state except those dealing with daily needs and essential commodities would remain closed. The daily needs and essential commodity shops would, however, remain open only for 3 hours in a day, and timing of the same would be fixed by the concerned deputy commissioners. It was also decided that all public transport would remain suspended till further orders, and private vehicles would only be allowed in case of emergency services. A total of 17,364 new confirmed cases of coronavirus infection were reported in the national capital during the last 24 hours, taking the total number of cases to over 13,10,000. Delhi government has said that over 12 lakh people affected with coronavirus have been cured so far. In the last 24 hours, 20,160 people have recovered and 332 deaths were reported in the city.
Bihar government will start today the vaccination of those between 18 and 44 years of age. Vaccine will be available at the nearest health center. Prior registration slot booking is must for getting vaccinated. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said Bihar has received 3,50,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine for the persons in the age group of 18 to 44 years.
18 से 44 आयु वर्ग के लोगों को कोरोना का टीका देने के लिए 3.5 लाख डोज पटना पहुंच गया है। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के निर्देशानुसार आज रविवार 9 मई से पूरे राज्य में टीकाकरण का कार्य प्रारंभ किया जा रहा है। यह टीकाकरण उन स्थानों से अलग होगा जहां पे लोगों का जांच और उपचार हो रहा है। अगले 3-4 दिनों में अन्य सरकारी एवं अन्य भवनों को चिन्हित करके उन स्थानों पे भी ये टीका दिया जाएगा।
Meanwhile, positivity rate in the state is decreasing and it is 11.98%, while recovery rate has gone up to 79.97%. During the last 24 hours, 14,962 patients recovered and 12,948 were reported positive. 4,64,025 patients have so far been recovered from the infection so far. Gujarat has recorded 11,892 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday. 14,737 patients recovered during the last 24 hours and were discharged from the hospitals. We have more from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
The new cases of COVID-19 constantly falling in Gujarat. Chief Minister Vijay Rupani has said that sufficient number of testing being carried out in the state. The positivity rate in the state is 8.5% at present. 119 patients lost their lives yesterday. With this, the death toll due to COVID-19 in the state has reached up to 8,273. Gujarat has now 1,43,421 active cases at present, out of which 782 patients are on ventilator. Meanwhile, 1,88,129 persons were vaccinated in the state yesterday. Out of these, 19,276 persons are from 18 to 44 years age group. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Maharashtra, a record number of 82,266 patients recovered yesterday. Similarly, the number of daily cases in Mumbai is showing a declining trend. Due to this, some of the district administrations as well as some local bodies have decided to impose strict lockdown of 7 days in their jurisdiction from today. A report.
Guardian Minister of Sindhudurga District, Uday Samant, announced to impose strict lockdown of 7 days in the district, and it will come in place from this midnight. Decision was taken to impose the lockdown as the number of cases in Sindhudurga district are continuously rising due to the careless approach of the people who are not following the restrictions and seen gathering at marketplaces as well as some other places even after the strict restrictions. Similar lockdowns have been announced in Washim, Bid, Wardha, Akola, Amravati, Latur and some local bodies like Kulgaon, Badlapur Municipal Council in Thane district. Essential services have been exempted from the lockdown, and the food items like milk, eggs, chicken, meat, vegetables can be sold only through home delivery in the specific time as decided by the local administration. At some places the restrictions are so strict that the people visiting the vaccination centers will have to show their proof for their inoculation to avoid undue advantage taken by some people in the name of the vaccination. Shailesh Patil, AR News, Mumbai.
Odisha yesterday received the first consignment of Covishield as part of its own procurement initiative. The consignment of 1 lakh doses of the vaccine received from the Serum Institute of India will be used to vaccinate people in the age group of 18 to 44 years. More from our Bhubaneswar correspondent.
Consequent upon limited availability of COVID vaccines, the Odisha government has decided to start vaccinating 18 to 44 age group people only in 5 municipal corporation areas of the state. In yet another development, the state government has allowed private hospitals to develop as COVID vaccination centers for the 18 to 44 age group beneficiaries only, while authorizing them to charge up to 100 rupees per dose as service charge. These hospitals, intended to act as extensions of the government COVID vaccination center, will be supplied with the vaccines free of cost by the government. Meanwhile, the state has already vaccinated over 61 lakh beneficiaries, even as the rising viral trajectory has left the state handling over 90,000 active cases as of now. Girish Chandra Das, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin yesterday. The Chief Minister appealed to him on the immediate need of 500 metric tons of oxygen. The Prime Minister assured that steps will be taken in this regard and suggested to enforce stricter measures to enforce a lockdown. We have more from our Chennai correspondent.
Tamil Nadu has registered more than 27,000 fresh COVID cases for the first time yesterday. Death toll has also increased to more than 240. More than 1,39,000 people are taking treatment for the pandemic. Over 23,000 patients have been discharged after treatment. Life-saving drug Remdesivir, which was sold only at Kilpauk Medical College and Hospital in Chennai, from henceforth will be sold at Salem, Coimbatore, Tiruchirappalli, Madurai and Tirunelveli districts. The Chennai Corporation will also restart Siddha medical facility in the city. More beds have been added to the hospitals in certain districts to take care of the patients. Joy, AIR News, Chennai.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. India and European Union decide to resume free trade agreement negotiations after 8 years. Ayush Ministry launches massive nationwide campaign to distribute Ayurvedic drugs Ayur 64 and Kabasura Kudini to corona patients. Health Ministry revises national policy for admission of patients to various categories of COVID facilities. Bihar government to launch vaccination drive for 18 to 44 age group today. DCGI gives emergency approval to anti-COVID oral drug developed by DRDO. Israel successfully completes phase 1 trial of drugs for treatment of coronavirus. Newly elected BJP MLAs in Assam to meet today to elect their leader. Bomb blast targeting girls' school in Afghan capital Kabul claim 53 lives. And in tennis, Aryna Sabalenka beat Ashley Barty to win her first Madrid Open women's singles title. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the morning news. In a major breakthrough against the coronavirus infection, a drug developed by the Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO got the approval for emergency use for the Drugs Controller General of India DCGI. Amid the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic, this drug will prove to be beneficial for the patients who are suffering from COVID-19. The drug 2-deoxy-D-glucose comes in a powder form in a sachet, which needs to be taken orally by dissolving it in water. Speaking exclusively to AIR News, DG Life Sciences at DRDO headquarters, Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh said that supplementary oxygen dependency of COVID patients decreased significantly after usage of 2-deoxy-D-glucose, and it also reduced their duration of hospitalization.
जब हमने इस ड्रग का DCGI से परमिशन के बाद से प्री क्लिनिकल ट्रायल्स किए पूरे हिंदुस्तान में, तो उसमें हमने पाया कि जब हम केयर करते हैं स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ केयर, जो कि कोविड पेशेंट्स को एक स्टैंडर्ड केयर है कि उसको एक प्रोटोकॉल है, और जो एक ग्रुप ऐसा होता है जिसमें उसको 2DG दिया जाता है और हम उसको स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ केयर से कंपेयर करते हैं, तो हमने उस फेज 3 ट्रायल में पाया कि जिनको 2DG दिया जा रहा था उनकी ऑक्सीजन रिक्वायरमेंट उनके मुकाबले 50% कम थी, जिसके कारण वो जल्दी रिकवर किए और ठीक हुए। और ये एक बहुत बड़ा पॉइंट था हमारा, जिसके आधार पर DCGI ने इसको इमरजेंसी यूज की परमिशन दी।
A new coronavirus treatment being developed in Israel's Tel Aviv's Ichalov Medical Center has successfully completed phase 1 trials and appears to have helped numerous moderate to serious cases of COVID-19 quickly recover from the disease. Hailing the treatment as a huge breakthrough, the hospital has said that the EXO-CD24 substance had been administered to 30 patients whose conditions were moderate to worse. It added that all 30 recovered, with 29 of them getting well within just 3 to 5 days.
Bangladesh has decided to further extend the closure of the land border with India for 14 more days in view of the COVID situation in India. The decision was taken in a meeting chaired by Foreign Secretary Masood bin Momen in Dhaka on Saturday. Earlier, the government had announced the closure of borders with India for 14 days on April 26. However, movement of cargo will continue through the land border. In Assam, the newly elected BJP MLAs will meet in Dispur today to elect their leader. Union Minister Narendra Singh Tomar and BJP General Secretary Arun Singh will be the central observers for the meeting. Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal and Senior Minister Hemanta Biswa Sharma are being seen as the two main contenders for the top post in the state. The two leaders attended a meeting of the party central leaders, including President J.P. Nadda and Union Home Minister Amit Shah in New Delhi yesterday. In the recently held Assam Assembly elections, BJP has registered a decisive victory, but the party is yet to take a decision on who will be the chief minister in the new government. BJP has also appointed observers for West Bengal. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad and BJP General Secretary Bhupinder Yadav have been made party observers for the legislature party meeting. Besides, Union Minister G. Kishan Reddy will be the central observer for election of the leader of the BJP MLAs in the Tamil Nadu Assembly.
In Tamil Nadu, the 16th Legislative Assembly has been summoned to meet for the first session on Tuesday at 10 a.m. The assembly will be held at the Kalaivanar Arangam instead of the Assembly Hall at Fort St. George owing to COVID regulations. The newly elected members will take the oath on the day. The election of Speaker and Deputy Speaker will be held on the 12th of May. In Ladakh, Sham region and Arayan Valley are the two areas famous for exotic horticultural products as well as agricultural produce like buckwheat among other cereals. Warm weather followed by introduction of new agricultural innovations by agricultural scientists and awareness through media like All India Radio and Doordarshan have given impetus to the agricultural sector. As All India Radio Leh is celebrating 50 years in June this year, our Leh correspondent filed a special story from Sham region.
Apart from tourism services, focus of many villagers of Ulet Tokpo is on integrated farming. Ulet Tokpo village is 72 kilometers away from Leh town. Villagers have converted their ancestral traditional farming and horticulture into cash crop which is sustainable and diverse. All India Radio Leh has been an important part in their transformation from traditional farming to integrated farming. A villager, Konchok Zangmo, says she never missed to tune radio to learn new ideas and methods in agricultural practices from the talk show with experts broadcasted by the All India Radio in native Ladakhi language. After learning skill in producing value-added products through processing like juice and jam from apricot and sivakton and wine from apples, Zangmo says she has started new cash crop watermelon to create additional income from this season. I have started watermelon cultivation. I also learned how the importance of organic farming, for which I am learning methods of making manure. Earlier, I tried grafting and become successful. Now the plants are bearing fruits. Agriculture Department, using media like All India Radio and Doordarshan, field visit and incentive like subsidized polythene has been propagating on watermelon cultivation. Yangchan Dolma for Air News from Ule Tokpo, Leh Ladakh.
In Afghanistan, death toll from blasts near a school in the capital Kabul has risen to 53. More than 50 others were injured. Interior Ministry said at least 3 blasts happened near Sayyid-ul-Shuhada High School yesterday afternoon. It happened when students were leaving the school. The death toll is likely to rise further. A school teacher said a car bomb blast happened first and then 2 more explosions occurred near the girls' school. He added that the majority of victims were girls. As the world continues to battle the deadly coronavirus, questions raise over China's role in the spread of the pandemic. Documents obtained by the U.S. State Department reveal that China discussed weaponization of COVID-19. The documents reveal Chinese army commanders had predicted that World War III will be fought with biological weapons. The military document titled The Unnatural Origin of SARS and New Species of Man-Made Viruses as Genetic Bioweapons revealed the Chinese military plans with regards to bioweapons that could cause the enemy's medical system to collapse.
In tennis, Aryna Sabalenka stunned world number 1 Ashley Barty to win the Madrid Open for the first time yesterday. In the women's singles final, the world number 1, Belarus's Sabalenka beat Australian player 6-0, 3-6, 6-4. In the men's semi-finals, number 6 ranked Alexander Zverev followed his triumph over Rafael Nadal with a win over number 4 Dominic Thiem of Austria 6-3, 6-4 to reach the final. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. In Jammu, minimum temperature was 21 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 34 with partly cloudy sky and possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. Srinagar had a minimum of 10 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 24 degrees. The city will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain, thunderstorm or dust storm. In Leh, temperature will hover between 6 and 20 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the sky will be partly cloudy. In Muzaffarabad, temperature will shift from 15 in the morning to around 32 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. Chandigarh will have generally cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 23 to 27 degrees Celsius. National capital Delhi is expected to have a clear sky. Minimum temperature was recorded at 23 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 39 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. SC Task Force to audit O2 usage nationwide is the headline in the Hindustan Times. Anti-COVID-19 drug developed by DRDO gets emergency use, Nord headlines The Hindu. Early signs of second wave peaking as growth slows, highlights the Times of India on its front page. Financial Express on its front page has the headline, Government-run banks told to keep high vigil on overseas funds. Economic Times says PM Modi calls up CMs of Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Himachal Pradesh to discuss Corona. Tribune says no public transport in Himachal Pradesh from May 10th. COVID positive report no longer must for hospital admission, reports The Pioneer. And finally, keep children away from mobiles because nearsightedness is rising among children, opines the Times of India.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. India and European Union decide to resume free trade agreement negotiations after 8 years. Ayush Ministry launches massive nationwide campaign to distribute Ayurvedic drugs Ayush 64 and Kabasura Kudineer to corona patients. Health Ministry revises national policy for admission of patients to various categories of COVID facilities. Bihar government to launch vaccination drive for 18 to 44 age group today. DGCI gives emergency approval to anti-COVID oral drug developed by DRDO. Israel successfully completes phase 1 trial of drugs for treatment of coronavirus. Newly elected BJP MLAs in Assam to meet today to elect their leader. Bomb blasts targeting girls' school in Afghan capital Kabul claims 53 lives. And in tennis, Aryna Sabalenka beat Ashley Barty to win her first Madrid Open women's singles title. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.